Hey, it's Lauren with Bead Box Bargains, and today we're going to take a look at some craft store beads that have been incorrectly labeled. And I want to be very clear up front that I am not doing this to pick on craft stores. I love craft stores. Actually, my whole beading journey started in the bead aisle of a craft store. I'd come to get a few more seed beads for this friendship bracelet kit I'd gotten when I think it was 13. And yeah, I came for seed beads. I left having spent all of my birthday money and with the beginnings of a new obsession. Craft stores are wonderful. But a lot of times things get lost in translation, I think, between there's a lot more channels that beads go through before they get on the shelves. They go from the factory to a wholesaler to a brand to the store. And when you're not just specializing in jewelry, when you're doing lots of different crafts, it's sometimes hard to tell what's real from what's fake. Things get mislabeled. And I just wanted to take a look at, I recently went to several craft stores, and I wanted to take a look at what I found so that when you're shopping craft stores, you can make savvy decisions and you can know what you're looking at. And a lot of times, they're actually doing better at labeling than they used to be. When I started beading, nothing was marked as dyed. They didn't mark any enhancements to stones at all. And now you'll see a lot more tags that say like dyed agate, etc. And most of those were correct. I just want to call out some of the most egregious differences and mistakes that I saw so that you're aware of what you're looking at when you're shopping at craft stores. All right, so to start us off, let's take a look at some of the synthetic materials we covered in our last bead brief and see how they're labeled at craft stores so that you know what you're looking at. And I am going to grab, while I was at the craft store, I also picked up this darker background to help with some of the white beads we're looking at today. So just trying something new. We'll see how that works. But first of all, I've got this opalite glass. Now these are from two different stores, and as I knock my background askew, I have just stuck labels over the brand names because I'm not I'm not interested in calling out anything. I want you to know what you're looking at. So these are from different stores, and they're both marked. This one store marked them as natural opal stone, and this one marked them as white opal. While they are not natural, they are not opal, this is opalite glass. Anytime you see this really translucent material, it's got this kind of like opalescent shine, this is glass. This is not going to be real opal. Real opal is going to look very, very different. So just be aware, everything at these stores that was marked opal or white opal was actually opalite glass. So just something to keep an eye on. And while we've got this nice white background, I'm going to show you a couple other erroneously marked white stones. So first of all, and one of the things I do love about craft stores is they make these really cool mixed strands. It can give you some ideas off the bat. They're great, but they're not always marked very clearly. This one says howlite beads. Well, these are not real howlite. These are an imitation howlite, a resin-based product, and you can tell just because of first of all, how stark the contrast is between the veining and the background. You can tell by the feel. They don't feel cold like these stones do. They feel slightly warm to the touch. And yeah, the veining is very dark, and the patterns just don't quite match that of natural howlite. You don't have any like swirls going on in the white. The white is very plain. I'll show you. Here's a natural strand of howlite from our store, and you can just see the patterns are a lot more subtle, and you've just got a better polish on the natural howlite. It takes a really nice polish where the resin tends to be slightly more dull. And again, this is just going to look a lot more like actual marble, like you would see in a sink or something, a countertop. You have a lot more subtle patterning too. It's not all just this stark black and white pattern. And to be clear, I have nothing against resin beads or acrylic imitations. I think they're a wonderful way to get the look for less. However, when you're selling jewelry, when you're buying stuff for a business, it's good to know what you're getting so you can tell your customers accurate information. It's also good to know what you're paying for so you can judge whether or not the price is what you want to pay. So this strand has imitation howlite, and it looks like some dyed quartz in the middle and here on the end. Again, it's a super fun strand. You've got some little gold accents too. I like the big chunky beads in the middle. You can make a really great bracelet just with this strand, but it is not howlite. It is an imitation product. So I wanted to call that out. And that was something I saw a lot of, was imitation products being marked as the stone they are designed to imitate. So we'll take a look at some more of those later. But now continuing the theme of light colored and white stones, look at these. These were marked as Amazonite, which I thought was very interesting. So these are actually a quartz product. These are going to be snow quartz or quartz crystal, but the white quartz crystal tends to get called snow quartz. They're quartz. They are not Amazonite. There's none of that blue-green. And this strand at a different store was also marked as Amazonite, and it is not either. This is a dyed quartz again, and let me just show you. Most of the strands, actually, I think at the stores I went to, which I don't have everything in my area, and some of these I traveled more and some of them I traveled less for, but all the accurately marked Amazonite I saw was flower Amazonite, which is a little bit cheaper because it is mixed in with some whites and browns. But the colors, the green colors, you'll see some of them, and this is a matte strand, by the way, that I happen to have on hand. But the green color is not always unlike this here, but these beads you can see very clearly have been dyed. When you look at the way that these inclusions have picked up the color more vividly versus when you see patterning in the natural stone, it's generally not darker. Sometimes it is, you get like that matrix in there too, but it's not like wherever there's patterns in the stone, you can see this one that's less included looks lighter. Just this green is kind of fakeish. This is not a color that Amazonite naturally is, and just the finish of them is wrong too. Let me show you some other natural Amazonite, and this is a little more of your traditional minty greens and blues and whites. And while it can have some white tones in it, like these, it doesn't have those quartz patterning, so that almost like crystalline inclusions. It's got a different look to it. So again, you can see that this green color just doesn't match the natural colors of the Amazonite, and neither does this white, and the patterns in them are very clearly quartz patterns and not Amazonite patterns. So I want to call that out. Some of the Amazonite beads I saw were accurately marked as Amazonite, and of those that were, they were almost exclusively flower Amazonite. So just wanted to give you, which is real Amazonite. It's just the kind that has other colors mixed in more prominently. There are other colors in this strand too, but because the predominant colors are those blues and greens, it gets marked. It's just regular Amazonite, not flower Amazonite there. All right, so I hope that's helpful. Let's take a look at some more manufactured products that are not always, sometimes, but not always, marked as man-made. So first of all, in our last bead brief, we talked about cherry quartz. And here again, you have it just marked cherry quartz. They do not indicate in any way that this is a synthetic man-made product, but it is. It's very pretty. I love it. I use it. You've got those pink tones. You've got these like tiger skin quartz tones, or I mean like that's another one of the synthetic trade names, a tiger skin quartz, this brown one. Again, a synthetic product made to imitate quartz. It's a very nice, specially treated glass. It's a very pretty strand, but it is not actual quartz. So wanted to call that out. And one thing I found really interesting was the way they labeled goldstone. So first of all, we have blue goldstone, and this is made with glass and cobalt to get that deep blue. You've got those sparkling flecks in there. It's lab created. It's a synthetic material. It is gorgeous, and I love it. But this is blue goldstone, a man-made stone. It is not natural blue stone or sandstone, which is interesting. Sandstone is a type of, I believe, sedimentary rock, but it is not this. Some people do, I've heard this called sandstone or gold sandstone before, but it is important to clarify this is a man-made material. It is not a natural stone in any way, more commonly known as blue goldstone. Again, no objection to calling it sandstone if that's what you want to call it, but it is not natural. And so again, we have natural gold sandstone. Oh, this one I thought was funny too, because it says natural gold sandstone beads, but you can tell from the millefiori flower details, this is clearly not a natural material. It's really fun. I like the mixture of the little floral glass in with the goldstone there, but those sparkly copper flecks are what give this glass its shine. But clearly a man-made material and not a natural stone. So, and this other store just called they marked the blue goldstone as sandstone, but the more traditional goldstone they just called glass, which is not incorrect. Don't hate that. Anyway, just some things I wanted to call out that I noticed with this particular material. It is a synthetic man-made stone, absolutely gorgeous, and I love it, but it is not a natural stone. Another thing that I did want to mention is the definition of natural in the trade. So a lot of sellers, and myself included, will use natural to indicate when a gemstone is not dyed or heat treated. We'll say it's completely natural, like this is its natural color. However, other sellers just use natural to mean it came from the earth. So like a dyed quartz would be natural, but a cherry quartz, man-made, would not. So people use it different ways. In any case, it's wrong on both counts for these strands. But I wanted to let you know that on our website, if we say it's a natural rose quartz, it means it's not dyed. So that was just a term different people use differently that I wanted to call out. All right, this one was really interesting to me. So at one particular store, almost all of their imitation turquoise was labeled Wagnerite, or however you pronounce that. And that was a new thing for me. I hadn't seen that before, so I had to look it up. So Wagnerite is a naturally occurring mineral, but it doesn't look like this at all. It looks kind of red-brown. It often occurs in a mix with pyrite and some other minerals, and this mix of three, I don't remember the third one, I apologize, off the top of my head, is called triplite. And I stole some pictures of it off the internet to show you what I'm talking about because I don't have any, so here you go. There's an example of some Wagnerite nuggets. Again, not my photo, but it is very reddish. It looks almost kind of like a sesame jasper. You can see the pyrite mixed in there. Here's another picture of some just pure Wagnerite samples. Again, it's a natural material that exists and is real, but it is not this. These are a resin synthetic turquoise, and if you look on the sides, you can see the mold marks. Like, these are very clearly a molded resin product. I love them. We sell these, but we sell them as synthetic imitation turquoise because that is what they are. They're very cute. I love these turtles. Love, love, love. We're apparently really undercharging for them. No, but they're very sweet and they're very cute, but they are not Wagnerite. And another strand that was marked as Wagnerite. This one was interesting. So this one, at first glance, actually looked a little bit more like those samples that we just looked at. But if you look at the individual beads, there's actually two different materials on this strand. So the first material, these red ones, and this is a matte strand, they are sesame jasper. Look out, here's a strand from our store so you can compare. They've got the same veining, the same patterning. So these redder beads are sesame jasper, and the brown beads here are really obviously tiger skin jasper. They've got that characteristic banding. We sent some of this in our January box. Here's a picture of that strand since we are sold out of it right now, I believe. But yeah, so this one, which they marked as Wagnerite, is a mixture of sesame jasper and tiger skin jasper. Just thought that was interesting. It's a term I hadn't seen before, really. So I wanted to research it, see what it meant, see if it was correctly applied, and in this case, I am gonna say probably not. Almost, actually, definitely not. So that's what I found there. Another turquoise issue, almost Well, actually, all the turquoise that was marked as anything other than, a lot of them were marked as like imitation turquoise, etc. And I like that. I love to see that. This one and several others were marked as dyed turquoise. So this is not natural turquoise. This is magnesite, which I, until recently, when a very helpful commenter let me know, I found out I was pronouncing wrong. I've always called it magnesite. It's the peril of learning most of these things from reading books at 13. So thank you. And if I'm saying things wrong, please let me know. I love learning to say them the right way. So yeah, this is dyed magnesite. I hope I'm saying that right now. But it's got these brown patterns in it. It's a lovely color. I love this stone. I use this stone, but it is not dyed turquoise. And the price you are paying for it kind of indicates that too, because if you were gonna buy a strand of turquoise, even if it's dyed, if it's this clear, you are going to be paying a lot more money for it if it's genuine. So thought that was interesting. And then what really actually bothers me most, and what I most wanted to let you guys know about, is when imitation stones are being sold as the real thing. So here's some examples of that I found. So first of all, I didn't even know they made imitation unakite, but these are just marked as unakite beads. These are 100%, they might be reconstituted unakite. I'll give them that. Maybe there's a chance they're reconstituted with resin, but they are very definitely a resin-based product. You can tell just from the way that they're the way that the white you have around the drill hole there. Some natural stones will do that too, but unakite is not one of them. Here's some natural unakite. Joy was kind enough to lend me her necklace. She happened to be wearing unakite today. And you can see the patterns on these are not all the same. This is very splotchy. It's really not the way that the green and red are integrated. It's not the same. It's not the same color green. You've got a nice polish on these, where this is that flat resin matte, semi-gloss type look. And here are some other natural unakite beads. And you can see they just look a lot more marbled, a lot more real. I don't know how else to put that, but these have like a blotchy patterning. There's a really jarring contrast between the reds and the greens, where in the natural unakite, it's a lot more blended. And yeah, so these are not real unakite, or if they are, they have been reconstituted with resin and should not be considered natural unakite beads. So I wanted to call that out. Also, isn't Joy's necklace lovely? So pretty. That was a fun box. I liked that one. Anyway, another one I found and managed to break here a second ago in the studio and lost the little golds between these. Anyway, this is marked as natural malachite stone. No way. These are 100% resin imitation malachite, and you can tell, again, just the violent difference in between the dark swirls and the greens. They're also very pretty. I mean, nothing against them, but they should not be being sold. You should not buy them thinking they're natural malachite. And the same for this little pendant here. It's marked as natural malachite, and you can again tell just from the look at the contrast in that bullseye. That is not how natural malachite looks. So I unfortunately don't think I have any natural malachite in at the moment. So here's a picture of a strand we had previously. And you can tell, again, you've just got a much more natural variation in those tones, the way it goes from the light green to the dark green, a lot more gentle. It isn't this jarring black. So anyway, that's how you can tell. Look at the patterns, look how subtle the colors are. Also, look at the price. Malachite is very expensive. The real thing is, and keep an eye out, because I've seen a lot of fake malachite on the market being sold as real malachite. So just be careful with that. Again, I like how they put the multiple, like you get these fun acrylic beads between them. It's a fun strand, but it should not be sold at the price point it's being sold at, and they should not be claiming that it's real malachite when it's not. And again, a lot of times the issue is that the factories just call it malachite. They don't tell you, hey, synthetic malachite. They just say, oh, look, these are malachite. And if you don't know what you're looking at, then you don't know what you're getting. So be aware. All right, so another one that I thought was interesting was this synthetic, or at least reconstituted with resin, Aquaterra jasper. So it was marked at the same store as serpentine jasper or dyed jasper. And I wanted to be very clear that this is a resin-based product. It does look like they have some reconstituted jasper bits in there, but that blue is, and the way that the little chunks just kind of float in it, that's a dead giveaway. Like, look here. Look at all those chunks. Those are not natural patterns. This is very much a reconstituted stone. Again, very pretty. Here's another, this is our synthetic Aquaterra jasper. Now this one is made with a resin and epoxy, and the chunks are much smaller. And it's a tiny bit lighter blue. But this is another imitation product. Again, neither one of these is marked as reconstituted or imitation. I don't even know what a serpentine jasper is. Those are two different stones. But and here's some natural Aquaterra jasper. So this is the stone that they are imitating. And you can see the patterns in it. It does have some marbling. It does have some, it does have those smaller pieces like these strands are imitating. But it does not have these giant chunks. And it's a very different pattern. You have much smaller fragmentation naturally in the stone versus, again, just the big pieces mixed together with resin. And this is also much lighter weight. This feels like plastic. It's not cold to the touch. It's a very lightweight product. These have some heft to them, and they're cold to the touch. And the patterning is a lot more subtle. And you can tell on this particular strand, the blue is more subtle too. This is kind of a really vivid neon blue. Again, they're very lovely beads. I like them. They are not just dyed jasper. At least that one says, hey, this isn't entirely natural. And this one says serpentine jasper, which is interesting again. But they are imitation, or at least reconstituted, Aquaterra jasper. And if you're not familiar with the term reconstituted, what it means is they've taken chips and bits of a stone and they've mixed it together with resin, and that is much cheaper than cutting and polishing actual stone, and also allows you to use the less desirable pieces or the leftover chips from cutting the natural stones to make more beads. And there is, again, I don't have anything against reconstituted beads, but the value is not the same. They are not naturally occurring, and they should be marked as reconstituted. So just a heads up there. All right, so one term that I see getting used as a catch-all across the industry, but I was not surprised to see this at the craft stores, they are not alone in this, is the term jade. They slap it on everything. So let's take a look and see what we got here. This is marked jade. This is marked dyed jade. This is just marked jade. This is marked jade. And interestingly, this one is marked dyed quartz, which is correct. Here, I'm going to put it up here where I have a little more space. There we go. So let's take a look. So these are going to be probably what's known as Malaysian jade or mountain jade. To me, they look, and it's sometimes hard after they've been dyed to tell, but they look a little more like the dolomite side of things. So I'm going to say they're probably the mountain jade. But they are very pretty. They are dyed, and they've got a nice glossy finish. These are going to be your Malaysian jade or dyed quartz. I believe, no, those actually, yeah, these actually, I don't think these are calcite. They've got kind of a waxy finish to them. They may be dyed calcite, but these are definitely a dyed quartz. You can tell they've got that a little bit lighter on, some of them are almost translucent. They look pretty snow quartzy. So got a dyed quartz. This is a natural stone. This is a yellow-green calcite, and I love calcite. I love the banding on it. It's a really pretty, it almost looks like agate with its little striations there. But you'll have this brown here is extremely characteristic of calcite. The way that these brown patterns, it looks almost like tiger eye banding. And you've got the yellow with the bands of white and gold, and then this more green color too is a natural. So this is not a dyed strand. This is natural calcite, but it's also not a jade. So just a heads up, I did see a lot of calcite marked as jade. These are very obviously dyed, and they've got that kind of like waxy finish, so they're coated. Calcite is coated. This is actually a very nice strand of calcite. I like it a lot. But it's coated because it is a rather soft and porous stone. So that's what makes me think these might be calcite. That, and again, these little brown striations. It's a little tricky when you're looking at stones after they've been dyed to look like something else, to tell exactly what they were once. But I can tell you 100% not jade. And let's see. We also have a lot of things that were marked as agate that are not natural agate. So also, I'm working on getting together some different varieties of natural jade to show you. There's such a wide range of things they can look like. So once those get in, I'll do a video and show what natural jade looks like versus Malaysian jade, which is dyed quartz, or mountain jade, which is the dyed dolomite marble. So I don't have all the stuff here yet, unfortunately, but I'm working on that. We'll do a future bead brief. So next is agate. Lots of things were marked as agates. This is, again, and I'm actually pretty confident that this is the calcite. Looking at this pink strand where it's lighter, because you see that banding on this? That is a calcite pattern. So yeah, I'm going to say both of these, looking at them next to each other, these are going to be dyed calcite. And again, that waxy finish, calcite is usually waxed, or it has a waxy coating applied to it. So not agate, really pretty, dyed pink calcite, probably was yellow once upon a time. These are a dyed quartz, not an agate, and you can tell again they're dyed if you look at the way the fissures pick up the color, and it's darker and looks different than the white around it. So dyed snow quartz. I thought this was interesting. So this is, again, one of those fun multi-strands. And it does actually have natural agate right here in the middle. These 4 beads in the middle are natural moss agate. You can tell that from the mossy greens and the little mottled patterns. They're very pretty. These green agate on the side are more than likely dyed and heated. They've got some nice patterns in there. But these are agate, these 3 here. These 3 on the end here are definitely a dyed quartz. And then, of course, you've got glass beads on the very end. So some of it is natural agate, some of it is not. So that is one thing to look out for with these multi-strands. Almost always, either some of them might match the description, but almost always the full strand does not. And as we saw with the malachite beads, a lot of times none of them do. The malachite, I should say. A lot of times none of them match the description on there. So again, it's hard when you've got a jillion products that you're labeling and you've only got this much space to say what it is. But that's why I want you to be aware when you're shopping for beads, what they look like and what you are actually looking at, so you can make savvy shopping decisions. Here's some correctly marked agate. You've got that nice bright shine. You've got some patterns. This one they did not mark as dyed, even though it definitely is, to get that vivid blue color. This is not a color that agate is naturally going to be at this price point. It's very beautiful. I think we've actually got some similar to this coming in on our store soon, but again, this should be marked as dyed. A lot of them were. A lot of them were actually marked as dyed agate, and I was happy to see that. A lot of them were marked at other stores as just natural agate, and again, this is agate here, but you can tell from this crackle pattern they've been heated to get that texture. It's gorgeous. These are really pretty Dragon Veins agate, but they're definitely heated and then also dyed. You see the way that the middle of that has picked up the dye a lot more. So these are real agate, and if you want to use the definition of it comes from nature originally, yeah, if you use the loose definition of natural, sure. But they are dyed and heat treated, and that is one thing I noticed at the stores. There are a lot, pretty much, some of them are marked as dyed, but there are a lot that are clearly dyed or heated that are not marked on the packaging. So be on the lookout for that. Look for these intense fluctuations in color that just don't look natural. Look for patterning like this that indicates it's been heated. Again, I am obsessed with these agate beads. I love them. I will do something fun with them and wear them. I'm not trying to, I have no problem with dyed and heated agate. Almost all agate on the market is dyed and heated, with the exception of like Botswana agate or blue lace agate or a gray agate. Most agate is naturally gray, at least most of this grade that you're going to get at this price. So I just want you to know there will probably be, if it's important, because a lot of people, when they write into, they do care about whether, and they want to know if things are dyed or heated or what. So be aware, at this craft store, probably not going to tell you. Sometimes they do, and I appreciate it when they do. But the fact that they didn't put dyed on the package does not mean it is not dyed. So just be aware. All right, another one that I thought was interesting is this natural sodalite stone. All right, agate can go away. There we go. So yeah, this is in a case of a cheaper stone, and I have seen this sold by factories and in marketplaces as sodalite when it is not. So again, it could just be an issue of a wholesaler was told by the factory that it's this and it's not, but it is not real sodalite. Sodalite does not have these mottled patterns, or at least they're more linear. Let me show you. So here's some sodalite, and you can see we've got a lot of marbling in this stone. See those white patterns? You expect to see some white in sodalite, and you just don't get that here. You get black. There's like lighter areas, but it's again a much more of a crystalline structure than the marbly structure, and there are better scientific words for that, but they are not coming to my brain, so get what we get today. We're gonna go with, yeah, like that mottled crystalline structure just isn't the same as this more marbled one. Here's another strand of real sodalite. So you can kind of see what I mean. Like, you may have some dark patches like you have in here, but they are few and far between, and you have a lot more of these white swirls. There's no swirls and no marbling in these beads. So what are they? I think they are going to be a dyed sesame jasper. Sesame jasper in the low grades is really not expensive. Here's an example, and you can see you've got that mottled patterning, like you can see it here. You've got that same kind of crystalline structure. This one in particular matches it almost exactly. So these are definitely dyed. It's possible, I don't think they are larvikite because they don't have any of that silver shine. Larvikite is also sometimes dyed and sold as sodalite. So that is not what these are, or black labradorite is. But that is, yeah, these are going to be, I'm 99% sure, dyed sesame jasper. It's cheaper. It's a lot cheaper than sodalite. So unfortunately, sometimes factories they dye it and they mark it as what it is not. So something to be aware of when you're buying sodalite. Look for those marbled patterns. And sometimes, I would say you get what you pay for, except that this strand was not cheap. So keep an eye out. Look for those swirly white patterns in there. And if you see like the white here at the drill hole, that sodalite does that a little bit, but it should be polished. It should be, it should not have nearly as much of that matte frosty white at the cord. You can see this doesn't have any at all. Anyway, just some things to look for when you're buying sodalite. And one thing I did want to call out is that most often bead chips were tended to be what they were marked as. Take the strawberry quartz, for example. That is definitely strawberry quartz. The only real malachite I saw in any of the craft stores I went to was the chips. They were real, but the larger beads were not, which is unsurprising because larger malachite is expensive, very expensive. And the strawberry quartz here was just marked quartz, which was interesting to me, even though it is definitely strawberry quartz. You've got these really pretty strawberry patterns. You've got that granular red-orange like schiller to it, almost like the aventurescence and aventurine. And this was interesting. This one was marked, this one was right next to it, marked dyed strawberry quartz. Well, it is definitely dyed quartz. Whether or not it was ever strawberry quartz is questionable. I don't really see And I see a lot more of the streaks and patterns from snow quartz. It doesn't look, this looks like this is just a regular quartz. And then there was this one, which was just marked strawberry quartz. And it may actually be strawberry quartz because you have like a really low grade. You have some of those strawberry markings, but again, it has very obviously been dyed. You can see it is much closer in color to the dyed quartz than the natural strawberry quartz. So just wanted to call some things out that with the labeling on the strawberry quartz too. So real natural strawberry quartz, it is dyed, but probably not strawberry quartz, and probably strawberry quartz, but also definitely dyed and not marked dyed. Yeah, and there was a lot of that. I will say that most of the stores seem to do okay with labeling the dyed green aventurine and stuff. I was happy to see that in the green aventurine section. Stuff that looked natural it didn't say dyed, and the stuff that said dyed did appear to be dyed. So just be careful with that too, because that, you know, it's not necessarily always true across the board. But the rose quartz and the green aventurine, I was impressed. They marked the dyed stuff dyed at the stores that I went to. That doesn't mean they do it across the board. So here, this was very interesting. So all 3 of these strands came from the same store. All right, so this one is just marked stone beads. These are bamboo coral chips. They're dyed. Bamboo coral is naturally a whitish color. When it comes kind of like a grayish white, they dye it for a reason. It's not that, yeah, they either bleach it or dye it. And then this one is marked natural coral stone. And the minute I picked it up, I knew that was not true. Because first of all, if you look at it, you don't see any of the coral patterning. With coral, you're going to have some surface imperfections. You're going to have, and of course, these are just like the natural coral tips. But even so, you're going to have some lining. You're going to have some darker spots. You're going to have just some like oceanic patterns to it. This doesn't have any of that. And it's also very lightweight. And it's got this really, really like almost sticky feel to it. And if you look at the drill hole, again, it looks very white around it, which again, some stones will do that. Coral's not usually one of them. So these are definitely a resin. They may be a reconstituted coral. There may be some coral powdered up in that resin. I don't know. But it is, the only markings at all are like, here's one that has a little dark spot on the surface, and the surface is it's exactly the same all the way around. It doesn't have any of the patterning that you expect to see on coral. So these are not natural coral stone. They are in a resin-based product. They might be reconstituted coral, but they aren't natural coral for sure. And then there's these, which were marked as natural red jasper stone, which I thought was interesting because they are definitely not red jasper. You can see from the patterns here, let's see, I've got some jasper over here. With red jasper, you expect to see linear patterns if you see patterns. It's also not this nearly as orangey. Even the red rainbow jasper, which I have here, is not going to be anywhere near as orange as that. And again, the patterning is just totally different. And look at the surface patterns on this. You've got like those little pitted spots, and these are obviously dyed if you look at the way the surface has taken it. I think these are actually sponge coral, just because of, again, the textures on the top. I've had some sponge coral. They are very clearly heavily lacquered, so I think so you can't see all of the texture that I would expect to see on sponge coral, but it looks like it's there under the lacquer. So they've been almost like, and they almost feel sticky. They feel like they've been like shellacked, and they have an interesting pattern. But they are definitely not a natural red jasper stone. So that was definitely incorrect. And it was just super interesting to me because sponge coral is a great material. There's no reason to mark it. Jasper is actually usually a cheaper material, not this nice red jasper. And this doesn't look like a high grade sponge coral. But sponge coral is not cheap. It's not like a reconstituted coral, right? It's a natural, obviously it's been like dyed and coated here, but like it's a nice, I like sponge coral. So I don't know why it's marked as red jasper, but it is. So I thought that was interesting. So yeah, and again, I I love craft stores. I'm not trying to hate on them or nitpick. I just, it's been a thing I've observed over the years. They tend to not be super precise on the labels, and sometimes they even undersell things. Like, take a look at this. This is marked as natural shells. So this is a cultured freshwater pearl, and you can tell they're not high grade. They're actually got really flat on the sides, but freshwater pearls, especially right now, are not inexpensive, and neither was the strand. But pearls are a lot more expensive than natural shell. Also, these are very definitely dyed. So there's that. But these are a dyed cultured freshwater pearl, not a natural shell, which is actually a nicer material generally than the shell they're referring to. And this strand, which is super fun, was marked as plastic beads, and it has a nice limpwork glass right in the middle with a couple of these glass crystal or like crystal beads on the side, and the rest is plastic except for, look at these fun yarn beads. Like, I love that strand. It has a nice limpwork thing. It was not priced like plastic. They were not inexpensive, but it's fun. And you've even got some of those like, these are very plasticky fake turquoise. And you've got these miracle beads that are super shiny acrylic, and a little bit of crystal in there too. So anyway, just all that to say, they've only got a couple words to work with. A lot of times those words are wrong. Sometimes they just don't cover the whole strand, particularly in these super fun pattern strands. Oh, and I also want to show you these. My mother-in-law's obsessed with chickens. I bought these ceramic beads so I could make her earrings. I just thought they were cute. All that to say, craft stores are awesome when you need something in a hurry, especially I grew up very rurally. I didn't have access to a local bead store. If you do, please show them love. They do so much to further the craft, and I love, love, love local bead stores. I've gotten to visit a couple in Nashville, and I went to one in Australia once. It was super fun. But I don't have one anywhere near me. So I grew up, especially when I first started my beading journey, shopping at craft stores. And I hadn't really shopped at craft stores in a long time. So it was fun to do that. If you have been shopping at them for a while, and you know that every few weeks they rotate through what's on sale. So if it's something you can wait on, usually it'll be marked down eventually. Yeah, so keep an eye out for that. But all that to say, when you're going to craft stores, definitely don't take the labels at face value, and make sure you know what you're looking at, do your research, and keep an eye open, especially for resin-based imitations, because that was something that I saw very commonly. And yeah, I just wanted to share with you my findings and some of the different stuff that I noticed when I was shopping there, so that you can make informed purchasing decisions wherever you shop. And yeah, so that's our bead brief for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I hope that was helpful. I hope you found it useful, and I hope that it will help you as you're making your purchasing decisions. So thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and happy beading.